Welcome, one and all, to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. Rains, humidity, heat. Yay! No, nothing we like to hear, let alone our homes and our offices. But one place, one reason I don't get as scared or as frustrated or as concerned as I used to about my home and my office is Water Cleanup of Florida. They were there for my wife and myself, and they will be there for you. 954-579-0356 is that number to call if you have any water or fire issues with both your home or your office. 954-579-0356. I say this every time, and I do it on purpose, just so you know how experienced they are, just how long they've been doing it, so that gives you some comfort. Over 60 years of combined experience between Michael, Robert, George, their entire team. Way past that at this point. They are great at communication. They're great at getting out there. They're great at getting the job done. And with certified, licensed, insured contractors, they can make it look brand new. 954-579-0356. Water Cleanup of Florida. At Water Cleanup FL on the socials. WCUFL.com. If you want to check them out on their website. Again, they helped my wife and I with water issues at our townhouse. They'll do the same thing for you. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, believe me, they have the guts. Dave Hyde is a man that's had guts for years. He's covered Olympics, covered the Dolphins, covered the Panthers, covered the Canes, covered the Marlins, and has covered the Miami Heat, covered all things South Florida sports. He talks with us today. A little bit about Tua, a little bit about the Olympics, and the Jazz Chisholm trade with the Miami Marlins here. The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network with Dave Hyde.
All right, let's do it. Let's do some time here with the great Dave Hyde of the Sun Sentinel. Why aren't you in Paris? I mean, what did you cover a lot of Olympic games? I want to say yes to this, Dave Hyde.
Yes, I did. I covered 10 Olympics.
Oh, wow.
From what was the first one? It was the one in France, the winter one in Albertville, through China, through Beijing in 2008. And newspapers ran out of money, which was perfect timing. Perfect timing, because I'd run out of energy of traveling around the world covering events, and so I'd seen everything I wanted to, and it was perfect timing for me.
Well, what was your favorite aspect of this? Because we were talking about it a little bit yesterday. I like all the backstories on some of the athletes, and having gotten to know some Olympic athletes after their careers that were in sports that weren't necessarily mainstream. Some of the stories are really incredible. What was your favorite aspect of doing it? Because as a columnist, naturally you're looking for things that are going to be not just of sporting interest, but of human interest as well.
Yeah, it's a cornucopia of sports. I always said there are two Olympics. There's the Olympics you see on TV, which is, this week the swimming and the gymnastics, and that's it. And next week it'll be track and field. That's fine. I mean, and then there's the real Olympics, where you go to search of stories. Sometimes I remember once I was just sitting at a weightlifting competition. I can't remember. I don't remember. I think I was covering. There was one guy from one country in an island in the Pacific. He was the only guy on his Olympic team. So I thought, what's the story? So anyways, I'm sitting there waiting, and all of a sudden the crowd erupts, goes crazy. And I'm like, what just happened? And we forget there are other parts of the world where sports that we don't follow are huge. For instance, team handball in Northern Europe is huge. Weightlifting. This was weightlifting. And I said, I got to go to this post-game press conference, see what happened. And you put on headphones, and there's dials, like 10 dials for 10 different languages you dial to. So naturally I go to English. And this guy stands up, and Turkey asks a question. I'm waiting for the translation. And it comes over like this. He asks the athlete a question. He goes,
"Yeah,
you are an embarrassment to your country. Your response." you see,
Mayo is covering the games too.
Yeah, you just see, and stories. There were so many incredible stories at the Olympics that you just never see. I remember once covering a guy from Azerbaijan who he climbed a mountain every day and skied down it with used equipment, and that was and he got in the Olympics, and just getting there was such an accomplishment. And so, yeah, I mean, winning gold and the gold medal count and all that, but as a writer, I just love going and finding bizarre stories about sports.
Well, it's been your thing. I mean, that's what sets you apart from many of the people that do this for a living and have done it for a long time. I mean, still remember you telling us the story about Parcells giving the guy on the corner there $100 and you know, stopping and going out of his way to make sure that this guy was okay. And that's the kind of stuff that always
sort of miss.
You know, makes for good reading. And certainly the way that you express this, you know, kind of brings you in touch with people that you otherwise would have no idea were part of the sporting landscape. All right, so I mean, are you writing about it even though you're not there? What's your approach?
I haven't yet. I haven't yet. Maybe something will break through where I feel compelled to write about it, but as of yet, I haven't written anything.
I'll say this. I don't know that you could find a more likable contingent of athletes right now than the American men's gymnastics team. That these guys seem to be just terrific all the way around, and it was nice to see them win the bronze medal and break that streak since 2008. So we're talking 4 straight Olympic games where they got shut out on a team medal. But when you see the backstories on these guys and their approach to everything and how well composed they are and how eloquently they come off, you couldn't help but root for these guys. So couldn't be happier for them. That's one of the bright spots of the game so far. Did you get involved at all? I mean, I'm sure you would have covered this in this whole controversy about the Last Supper. That seems like it would be right up the Dave Hyde literary alley, no?
We can't do anything anymore without everybody taking it right down to their belief. It's about me. It's about me. It's all about me, isn't it? Yeah. My beliefs and what I feel and how angry. I just want to get angry at something. Yeah, that's what that was. Used to be,
I mean, it's the fucking French.
Talk radio's bastion. Yeah. Wasn't it, Defo? How can I make them angry? Now it's any talk show in politics. How can I make people angry? Because that's when they'll. So I'm waiting for Dan Brown and the Da Vinci Code to weigh in on it. You know.
All right. Stuff going on locally here, and we wanted to get into that with you because you are, as we say, the preeminent columnist here, with apologies to Greg Cody, who we also admire greatly. But I'm not sure, is he even with the Miami Herald anymore, Greg Cody? Does he write anymore? I want to say yes to that, but I haven't seen a Herald in forever. All right, so a couple of things. I mean, where do you want to begin? You want to begin? Jim Sarney wanted us to embellish the Tua story more and has requested we talk more about that. Anything to add to it that hasn't been said, Dave Hyde? What was your perspective on the whole thing?
My perspective was, I mean, I would have not paid. I would have let them play on it. I want more information. I get why they paid him. I mean, look, Adam Gase and Tannenbaum did it with Ryan Tannehill because, you know, they're looking at, we got a 3-year window. We want everybody. I don't want to have a quarterback problem. And from Tua's side, I can see why he wanted to be paid. So basically it's a 3-year window for Tua. They paid him a lot of money, $150 million in those 3 years. Pretty much it's guaranteed. And so my take is he's paid like a franchise quarterback. Can he take the step to being that guy? Because he's not that guy. I mean, you look at any rating, he's not that guy. And you look at, I mean, ESPN had a poll of general managers and scouts. He ranked 14th. And that's roughly around where he is. Chris Sims had him at 19. That seems a little harsh to me, but, you know, so you see what he can do well and the steps he's made. And the question is, does he have another step in him? Does he? And Mike McDaniel rightfully believes that he does. You know, he's helped him to get to this point. So we'll see. He's, you know, McDaniel and maybe Greer. I don't know. I call Greer general manager for life. He just morphs from one regime to another. And so probably not him, but certainly McDaniel's career or head coaching job probably rides on Tua.
Okay, well, let me ask you, because I know you just said it, and we've talked with you in the past, Perk, who we've talked with, was sort of in the same camp. A lot of the local people, I don't know national-wise as much, but felt, don't give him the contract, play through the 5th year. You could even franchise tag him twice if you want. Why not do that then? If that's an option, if there's all these reservations, all these questions, why pay him now if that is an option?
Because then what's Mike McDaniel's regime built on? What's his philosophy? His philosophy is, I'm going to put my arm around my players. We're going to be buddies. And my way is not a hungry player is a better player. My way is a happy player is a better player. And that's from day one. He's walked in here and you saw what happened last year when the old crusty old way guy of Vic Fangio was one way and Mike McDaniel was another way. The players hated Vic Fangio because the defensive players, they'd look over and look at Mike McDaniel laughing with his players and pushing them that way. So when you ask about Tua, all of a sudden you're going to have an angry Tua and an angry leader and a guy who saying, oh yeah, he says he really likes me, but he doesn't, and so it would in some form run counter to what Mike McDaniel is trying to do with his team and his philosophy of winning. And now teams have done that. You can go to Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. They made him play the whole way out, played right through into free agency before he got his contract. Dak Prescott at Dallas. And I wouldn't call Jerry Jones a hardliner or anything, but he's in the last year of his contract. He's played, through it, wanting a contract and hasn't got it. So Atlanta's doing it a novel way. I mean, it was a bizarre way, but on the other hand, I think that's not exactly that, but having two quarterback options seems to me, but you don't want them on different timelines in a way, and so they're bringing them in together. To me, like when I was talking to Jimmy Johnson and the Tua draft, he said Detroit should take a quarterback. And I said, they got Matt Stafford. And he goes, who's going to have more value than Justin Herbert or Tua or Joe Burrow, whoever falls to them, than that? And then Detroit took a cornerback who they didn't even get to the second contract. Yeah, Kuda from Ohio State. And so I think teams are there's going to be a Moneyball experience, not following not Moneyball, but a change of philosophy, sort of like Moneyball did to baseball, where was with quarterbacks, I think, where they're so valuable anymore. And to me, the best quarterback contract this offseason was Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield made big strides last year back to what people thought he was when he was a first-round pick, number one pick overall in Cleveland. And he helped Tampa to the playoffs. Is he a great quarterback? No. Is he in that 10 to 20 range that Tua is and everybody's trying to move up from? Yeah. Is he Tua? No, probably not. But, he signed a 3-year, $100 million contract. And also, that's not prohibitive for building good players around him. The problem with the Dolphins contracts, the third year, right now it's 24, 25% of the salary cap. Now, salary cap's going to go up, so that percentage will shrink. But the idea is that's going to be a hefty part of the salary cap if they don't redo it, and all that stuff. But so I don't know. We'll see where it goes. It's once again this was a place the Dolphins weren't supposed to be when they tanked and the one thing they said privately was, we're going to get a franchise quarterback and we're going to get that guy who we know is great. And, now they're crossing their fingers. He's great.
Well, it puts them in the category of a lot of other teams also. You sort of answered my first question, which is how compromising will this be to have this deal? Second part of it would be, I know there's been conversation about a quarterback salary cap separate from the actual salary cap. Shouldn't, it's kind of like with college sports, where I always thought, well, especially college football and basketball, should just be considered a separate entity because it was essentially professional sports. And just treated as a business as such, which they're now doing somewhat, or coming around to that by necessity. Should there be an exclusion of quarterback salaries from the overall salary cap? In order for teams to be able to pay these guys what the market rate is, but at the same time not have the team crumble around.
I don't think San Francisco would go for that. I mean, there are two ways to win, and one's get a great quarterback, pay him, get a Patrick Mahomes, get a Josh Allen, get the guy who can pick a team up and carry it as far as it can go, and you're going to have lesser talent around them. Then there's the other way, the San Francisco way, which is get a good young quarterback who might not be he's not Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, but he can run your system, and you got great players around him and a great defense, and win that way. So the trouble is when you get in the middle where you're paying great and you have good, or you're paying bad and the guy isn't just good enough to run a team. So San Francisco has found that sweet spot right now. Now, what they do with Purdy, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be
interesting.
$50 million. Yeah. So then they'll be in that spot. If they don't, draft another guy in the 7th round and make him their starter.
All right. I don't know. This comes as no surprise, but we knew this was coming. But the dismantling of the Marlins, yet another, would you call it a fire sale? I don't know if it's even in that category. It's just routine at this point. Of course, Jazz Chisholm goes to the Yankees and immediately lights it up with a couple of homers last night and turns a nifty double play, starts a 5-4-3 double play with a good play at third base, which he's never played before. So, another case where a guy leaves the Marlins organization and immediately blossoms into the talent that you thought he was going to be. Yelich being an example. We've seen it with other players. But what do you make? How much of a disgrace is this? And do you have any faith in this William Bendix guy, Peter Bendix, that I know they got a guy who was hitting some home runs in Double-A and then kind of tailed off in Triple-A ball when he moved up from the Yankees as part of the deal. But do you have any faith in this organization that it will ever be at the point or the level where the fans start to embrace it again?
Yeah, no, I don't have any faith, and I don't have any reason to disbelieve. I'm an agnostic. I don't even pay attention anymore.
Oh, yeah, well,
that's terrible. It's terrible for a local columnist to say.
Yes, I don't even cover the team.
Valley not putting them on TV, and they're look when they traded. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank. Who did they trade the Yankees the day before the season? A utility infielder, very good.
Oh, John Birdie.
Oh, Birdie.
John Birdie. Okay,
yes.
There's a useful piece for a team trying to do something. Yeah. When they traded him for scraps before the season, I said, okay, forget it. They're not even going to try to win. And
then they traded Louis Rise. Very early on.
They didn't spend any money. They didn't buy anybody of note. And then I woke up this morning, and there's the New York Daily News back page. Jazz Chisholm celebrating under the headline "Jazzercise," which there we go, pretty good, very good.
Yeah.
Jazz almost needs a place like New York where it's going to be an event every night, because when he's down here, his energy and his attitude, it just his personality. I loved his personality. But he needs a place where he's almost center stage every night to bring out his game, and he'll probably succeed. He'll have. It's good to see him start like he has in New York.
Yes.
What it says for the Marlins, it's they got a couple guys. Too bad Lazardo's hurt; he could get out of here. And Tanner's going to be traded, of course, and then at the end of the year, Skip Schumacher will be gone as he rightfully wants to. He opted. You never hear this. He opted out of a contract.
Wow.
when does a coach opt out of a contract? Then they'll start all over, just as they did 5 years ago with Jeter, which was just a complete disaster. And now they have to go back to square one and see if they can build it up and get back to us in 3 years to see if it works.
Not even a ray of hope. Wow. When you've thrown in the towel, Dave Hyde, because you tend to keep your faith longer than some of us. All right. And what's on the horizon? Are you having a schlep out after this bike ride to Dolphins training camp and suffer through the heat there? What are you occupying your time with on the column front?
Well, I was out at Dolphins yesterday. It'll be today, Media Day today. Which
very nice.
Oh, God.
What do you think of them so far? Their chances?
I think if they can't win this year, I'm not sure. They went out and paid 7 figures for a quarterback. They got other big pieces in the transfer portal through NIL money. They have these every day. I'm reading a new recruit, so some of those recruits should have started to grow up right now. We're in year 3 of Mario Cristobal. The schedule is as much a cakewalk as it can be in today's college football. They start with a Florida team that isn't the Florida team that anybody fears, and they don't really have another tough out of conference game on the schedule, and they don't play Clemson. I mean, there's a lot of elements that go into saying they should really have a good year between Cristobal building up or recruiting talent and where they are as a program. So they should be good.
All right, we'll let you run, Dave. We appreciate you taking time with us, especially after this arduous exercise in what was just blistering, schwitzing heat. And that's why the people of South Florida love you so much, because you're dedicated to the cause and a real gentleman. We thank you so much for being with us. Thanks a lot for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me during my warm down for my cycle. That's great.
All right.
All right, Dave. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much. Dave Hyde, ladies and gentlemen.
Truly love talking to the one and only Dave Hyde. Again, has covered South Florida sports for over, I think, 3 decades at this point. Covered Olympics, covered the Heat, the Dolphins, the Marlins, the Panthers, the Miami Hurricanes. And we talked a lot about Tua, the Tua contract. He was one of those that felt Tua hasn't proven who he is. He's better than what you'll get, so you keep him, obviously, but he's not a franchise quarterback. If you've heard me the last few years, I 100% disagree. Look, Jared Goff got to a conference championship game. Jordan Love had a really good second half of the season. C.J. Stroud had a really good rookie campaign. These are all nice quarterbacks. Tua's been in the league 4 years, and when he plays, he wins. He has a winning record every year when he plays games. The last 2 years, he was amongst league leaders in yards and touchdowns. Last year, he literally led the league in yards and touchdowns. And the last 2 years was a MVP candidate. And the Miami Dolphins, who barely were making the playoffs the last 2 decades, made it to back-to-back playoffs for the first time in over 20 years. He is a franchise quarterback. He is their franchise quarterback, and he's really a top 6 to 8 quarterback in the NFL. When you look at actual numbers and statistics, which is supposedly what matters, people sort of forget his offensive line the last 4 years has gotten hurt all year, or at least at worst at the end of the year. And last year, the defensive line, I think the entire defensive line was hurt. At least 3 or 4 starters were hurt by the end of the year. What do you want Tua to do with that? I think look, they were going to pay him either way if you do the last year and then the 2 franchise tags. The franchise tag, I think, is less than what he's going to get per year after this season, but it's not that much less. And now you have him pissed off, and you've watched all these other guys. Look, C.J. Stroud had a great rookie year. He was a fucking rookie. Who knows what it's going to be? And after the first game, the first playoff game, they were or they got by the first playoff game because they got a great break playing an ant team. And then they got demolished by the Ravens, and C.J. Stroud didn't do anything in that game. Jordan Love did get a playoff win at Dallas. The Dolphins also got a win at Dallas, by the way. And he looked good in that game. And then he sucked the next game. Like, he had glimpses, but he wasn't good. And he wasn't good for the first half of the season. So he's really, all he has is half a season on his record. All these quarterbacks that are getting paid, that are getting all the attention ahead of Tua. And Tua's been more consistent than any of them for a longer period of time. He earned that contract. He deserved that contract. I'm glad he's got paid. Look, it's not about Tua. As much as people put it on, well, Tua can get the job done late in games. Can he get it done late in the year? Well, late in games, a lot of the time, his team lets him down. And late in the year, his team 100% lets him down. Last year, literally, they were down 4 or 5 offensive linemen. They were down down their top 3 edge rushers when they faced the Chiefs, with Van Ginkel, Chubb, and Phillips all hurt. So, how much? They were down 2 linebackers. They were down Xavier Howard. They were down a safety. It's not on Tua. So I just find it funny that all these other teams leave room for their quarterback, but the Dolphins don't. I'm glad they signed him. I appreciate Dave Hyde's opinion. I don't agree. He is a franchise quarterback. He's not a 10 to 15. He's a top 10 quarterback. And if you go by the numbers, he's top 6 to 8. And honestly, he's probably top 4 to 6. But I would put him in that 6 to 8 range. He is your starter. He is a franchise quarterback. He is an all-pro caliber quarterback. He's just not Patrick Mahomes. Okay, well, there's only one Mahomes. And you weren't getting Mahomes in this draft, and you weren't getting him in next year's draft, and you weren't getting him in free agency. You do have Tua Tagovailoa. He is their quarterback, and I think if they can finally have the freaking offensive line and defensive line stay healthy, which won't happen, but if they can have them stay healthy, they'll be as good as anyone in the NFL. So we will see. The Marlins, disaster. Good for Chisholm. Get the fuck out of here. And the Canes, I have no idea. They've recruited well, put a lot of money into Cristobal. They have one of the easiest schedules in the country for the second straight year, and they had an easy schedule last year, and they barely got to 7 wins and lost to Rutgers in a bowl game. We're pretty convincingly beat by Rutgers in a bowl game. This is a make or break year for Mario Cristobal. We'll see if he does that. We will talk so much about all of it going forward, including the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo has been a star with the Olympic team. We saw that Summer League team be a lot of fun, and at least 3 or 4 of those guys feel like they're going to be on the Miami Heat roster. We'll talk so much more about that going forward. Check us out each and every morning, South Florida Live, the Defo Show with Lubie, on the South Florida Live Facebook or YouTube page at 8 a.m. each and every day. Check us out with our national podcasts. Have fun conversations pretty regularly in and outside the world of sports. The Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And check us out here with our South Florida skewed content, the Defo Show with Lubie, on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.